Okay, we're back. God, this is so weird, you guys. I'm not super into it. It's so weird. I should probably brush my hair. Alright, let's keep going. We're on the top of page 182, and we have only 2 glorious pages left. So let's get this shit done. Okay. 4. The word ended in a gasp of pain. The needle of the dial had shot up to 55. The sweat had sprung out all over Winston's body. The air tore into his lungs and issued again in deep groans, which even by clenching his teeth he could not stop. O'Brien watched him, the forefingers still extended. He drew back the lever. This time the pain was only slightly eased. How many fingers, Winston? 4. The needle went up to 60. How many fingers, Winston? 4. 4. What else can I say? The needle must have risen again, but he did not look at it. The stern face and the fingers filled his vision. The fingers stood up before his eyes like pillars, enormous, blurry, and seeming to vibrate, but still unmistakably 4. How many fingers, Winston? 4. Stop it. How can you go on? 4. 4. How many fingers, Winston? 5. 5. 5. No, Winston. That is no use. You're lying. You still think there are 4. How many fingers, please? 4. 5. 4. Anything you like. Only stop it. Stop the pain. Abruptly, he was sitting up with O'Brien's arms around his shoulders. He had perhaps lost consciousness for a few seconds. The bonds that had held his body were loosened. He felt very cold. He was shaking uncontrollably, and his teeth were chattering. The tears were running down his cheeks. For a moment he clung to O'Brien like a baby, curiously comforted by the heavy arm around his shoulders. Had the feeling that O'Brien was his protector, that the pain was something that came from outside, from some other source, and that it was O'Brien who could save him from it. You are a slow learner, Winston, said O'Brien gently. How can I help it? He blubbered. How can I help seeing what is in front of my eyes? 2 and 2 are 4. Sometimes, Winston. And sometimes they are 5. Sometimes they are 3. Sometimes they are all 3 of them at once. You must try harder. It is not easy to become sane. He laid Winston down on the bed and motioned with his head to the man in the white coat, who had stood immobile throughout the proceedings. The man in the white coat bent down and looked closely into Winston's eyes, felt his pulse, laid an ear against his chest, tapped here and there, then he nodded to O'Brien. Again, said O'Brien. The pain flowed into Winston's body. The needle must be at 70, 75. He had shut his eyes this time. Behind his eyelids a forest of fingers seemed to be moving in a sort of dance, disappearing behind one another and reappearing again. He was trying to count them. He could not remember why. He knew only that it was impossible to count them, and that this was somehow due to the mysterious identity between 5 and 4. The pain died down again. When he opened his eyes, it was to find that he was still seeing the same thing. Innumerable fingers, like moving trees, were still streamed past in either direction. He shut his eyes again. How could he? I'm working. I'm videoing. Hi, Steph.
Hey, Steph.
Hi, buddy. Hi.
Hey, Steph.
What you doing here? This is my nephew, 5A and 5B. Look how cute he is.
Aline. And Christy.
Hi, darling. What are you doing with him?
Rose was coming by.
Moi.
And she got a call from the company doctor, so she needs to get rid of him. Just at the moment she was passing by.
Perfect timing. You two enjoy. I've got to finish reading this to these kitties.
Thanks for following, Steph. Kijk.
Sorry, dude. Okay. Where are we? Now I've forgotten where I was. Somehow due to the mysterious identity between 5 and 4. The pain died down again. When he opened his eyes, it was to find that he was still seeing the same thing. Innumerable fingers, like moving trees, were still stringed past in either direction. He shut his eyes again. How many fingers am I holding up, Winston? I don't know. I don't know. You will kill me if you do that again. 4, 5, 6, in all honesty, I don't know. Better, said O'Brien. So O'Brien has destabilized via pain, via torture, via brainwashing, his ability to connect what he sees with how we measure the things that we see. Scary stuff. A needle slid into Winston's arm. Almost in the same instant, a blissful, healing warmth spread throughout his body. See, now he's being rewarded in this moment. The pain was already half forgotten. He opened his eyes. When O'Brien spoke, it was in an easy, conversational tone. Do you know where you are, Winston? I don't know. I can guess. In the Ministry of Love. And why do you imagine that we bring people to this place? To make them confess. No, that is not the reason. Try again. To punish them. No, exclaimed O'Brien. His voice had changed extraordinarily. No, not merely to extract your confession, not to punish you. Shall I tell you why we have brought you here? To cure you, to make you sane. Will you understand, Winston, that no one whom we bring to this place ever leaves our hands uncured? We are not interested in those stupid crimes that you have committed. The party is not interested in the overt act. The thought is all we care about. So, they don't care about the fact that Winston's confessed to all these things, true or not. What they care about is controlling what's happening in here, because once you control people's thoughts, then you don't need to worry about their actions, because, thought, then action, right? You can't do something without first thinking about it, and so if you control the mind, you control the actions. It's genius in a terrifying, evil, totalitarianism, authoritarianism, scary, scary bullshit kind of way. The thought is all we care about. We do not merely destroy our enemies, we change them. Do you understand what I mean by that? We are not content with negative obedience. Now, negative obedience, like obeying because you have to, because you're scared you're going to get put in prison, or you're going to get in trouble, you're going to lose your job, or not get enough food, or whatever. That's negative obedience. Obeying not because you want to, but because you have to. What they want is the kind of obedience that, because people, they want to do it. It's like they do it because they love Big Brother, because they'll listen to whatever Big Brother and the party say. It's that blind, unquestioning obedience. That's what they want. So they want control, not alone over deed and action. They want control over the mind. We are not content with negative obedience. When finally you surrender to us, it must be of your own free will. We do not destroy the heretic because he resists us. So long as he resists us, we never destroy him. We convert him. We capture his inner mind. We burn all evil and illusion out of him. We bring him over to our side, not in appearance, but genuinely, heart and soul. We make him one of ourselves before we kill him. Do not imagine that you will save yourself, Winston, however completely you surrender to us. What happens to you here is forever. We shall crush you down to the point from which there is no coming back. Never again will you be capable of love, or friendship, or joy of living, or laughter, or curiosity, or courage, or integrity. You will be hollow. We shall squeeze you empty, and then we shall fill you with ourselves. Okay. Yeah, wow, it's an amazing speech that he goes, it's from lines, 152 there, down to 169, and it really summarizes the game plan, the party's game plan for people that dissent, that go against them. They convert them and then release them back into the community converted, and then only once they've been converted, maybe they kill them afterwards. But they don't really care that much, because once they've converted you, you're no longer a threat. He paused and signed to the men in the white coat. Winston was aware of some heavy piece of apparatus being pushed into place behind his head. O'Brien had sat down beside the bed. 3,000, he said, speaking over Winston's head to the men in the white coat. Two soft pads, which felt slightly moist, clamped themselves against Winston's temples. O'Brien laid a hand reassuringly, almost kindly, on his. This time it will not hurt, he said. Keep your eyes fixed on mine. At this moment there was a devastating explosion, or what seemed like an explosion, though it was not certain whether there was any noise. There was undoubtedly a blinding flash of light. Winston was not hurt, only prostrated. A terrific, painless blow had flattened him out. Also something had happened inside his head. As his eyes regained their focus, he remembered who he was and where he was, but somewhere or other there was a large patch of emptiness, as though a piece had been taken out of his brain. So he's been essentially partially lobotomized here, electrically, so not surgically, but he sort of abilities to understand emotions, to question, all those things that make us human have been erased essentially from his brain at this moment. So O'Brien set him up with the torture, and then now it's this moment where part of his brain is essentially erased. His ability to question is essentially undermined, and then let's see what happens next. It will not last, said O'Brien. Look me in the eyes. Just now I held up the fingers of my hand to you. You saw 5 fingers, do you remember? Yes. O'Brien held up the fingers of his left hand, with the thumb concealed. There are 5 fingers here. Do you see 5 fingers? Yes. And he did see them. For a fleeting instant before the scenery of his mind changed, he saw 5 fingers, and there was no deformity. Then everything was normal again, and the old fear, the hatred, and the bewilderment came crowding back again. But there had been a moment, he did not know how long, 30 seconds perhaps, of luminous certainty, when each new suggestion of O'Brien's had filled a patch of emptiness and become absolute truth, and when 2 and 2 could easily have been 3 as 5, if that was what was needed. You see now, said O'Brien, that at any rate it is possible. Yes, said Winston. That doesn't make you want to read it, I don't know what will. Some dark stuff, my young friends. I'm going to do a Break Me Well video in the next few days as well. And then other than that, what else do I need to tell you? I scanned the important Rhyme and Reason pages and put them on Moodle in case you didn't bring your book home, though I trust that most of you have. It's still very unclear what's going to happen with your exams and everything, so you just sort of sit tight, I think. I'm thinking of you all. I hope that you're staying safe, and do try and take this seriously, my young friends. Even though you as an age group are, not in a great deal of danger, a lot of people around you are, particularly old people, and I know you care about those people, so wash your hands, follow all that advice. Even though you're not in danger, thank God, other people are, so be careful of those too. Last thing I will say to you is please look after your parents and the people you live with during this time, because a lot of people are really, really stressed. And even if you're having a great time and it's sort of a holiday from school, remember that for some people this is really, really serious. Maybe your parents' business is in trouble. Maybe they've got like extra stuff happening at work if they're working in healthcare or in the food industry or anything. There's different kinds of pressures happening to different people, and do your best to support the people in your family. Do extra cleaning, make dinner, just do what you can to make the lives of your parents and the people around you easier if you can. Okay, I'll see you guys later. Be good. Bye. I miss you all. Latters.